Okay.
Welcome back to part two.
Part two. Okay. Now we have Kenites.
Kenites or Kenites?
Whichever way you'd like to say it.
Yes.
As long as you know it's the technical term for gray hair.
Here, I'm going to let the computer say it.
Kenites.
That's how the computer says it. So, okay. This is caused by natural pigment in the hair leaving. So you can have congenital. This exists at birth. That means you were born with it. You may see somebody with a little white spot in the back of their head. And it will never, ever, 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 ever turn brown, black, blonde, or whatever. It'll just always stay white. Then you have acquired. This is usually due to old age. It could be anything. If your daddy is premature gray, you could be premature gray. You can get into your 90s and still have just a scattering of gray hair, and then you can get into your 90s and be solid gray. So it really just depends on, I think, genetics.
Ringed hair.
Ringed hair. These are alternating bands of gray and dark hair in the hair.
Hypertrichosis. Let's break this down. Hyper means too much. Tri means three, and we know that's meaning hair. Chosis is a condition. So we have too much hair condition.
Now, we've all seen the Wolf Boys, okay? These fellas have hypertrichosis. They were born with it. It is a, it's just abnormal hair. It's just growing everywhere. So, yeah, then you have your
trichoptilosis. In the middle of the word, there is the word chop.
That means you have split ends, so therefore your hair needs to be
Chopped off.
So,
If you've ever wondered what a split end really looks like, there you go.
there you go.
Trichorexis nodosa. Trichorexis nodosa.
This is knotted hair. The hair is dry, brittle conditioning, formation of nodular swellings along the hair shaft. The hair does break easily, which it will make it look like brush-like little spreading fibers, and is treated by softening the hair with conditioners and moisturizers.
It's tricky.
It's tricky. Just remember that one. Okay.
Monolithrix. Mono means one. Monolithrix.
This is beaded hair. The hair breaks between the beads or the nodes. It can be treated with scalp and hair conditioning.
Fragilatus cranium. Think fragile.
It's brittle. It's just brittle hair. It causes splitting. It can be treated with hair and scalp conditionings.
So, if you have Trichorexis nodosa or Fragilatus cranium and left untreated, you could end up with trichoptilosis.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Went backwards. There we go. Okay.
Pityriasis.
Yes, pityriasis.
This is a technical term for dandruff. So whenever you see this word, no, it means dandruff. It's characterized by excessive production and accumulation of skin cells. So, then we have
Malassezia.
Malassezia. This is naturally occurring fungus that is present on all human skin, but causes the symptoms of dandruff when it grows out of control.
All right, we have pityriasis. We know that is dandruff. Capitis. Where do you wear your cap? Simplex. So pityriasis, capitis, simplex.
This is regular classic dandruff.
Yep. Pityriasis steatoids.
This is an excessive amount of dandruff.
Yes.
This is somebody that if they sat in your chair, you would let them know they need to be treated by a dermatologist. And it is one of those things that can be tricky because you may choose not to do their hair. But now, We have some fungal infections.
Okay. Tinea. Tinea. Tinea
Ringworm.
is the technical term for
Ringworm.
ringworm, which is a fungal infection. It's not an actual worm.
No, it is a vegetable parasite. It is highly contagious. It begins with a small little red patch with little tiny blisters, and then it grows, and that outer circle just keeps growing. So, then we have
Tinea capitis, which means
ringworm
tinea on your
of the
head.
scalp. Now, if you Google this word, woo, you're going to come up with some pretty pictures. So, then we have Tinea
Favosa.
favosa. This is honeycomb ringworm. It is characterized by dry, sulfur yellow, cup-like crusts. So, again, it will give off an odor.
Crust is another name for scab.
Yeah.
Okay, scabies, itch mites. I think I talked on this
You did.
one a little bit. They burrow under the skin, they lay their eggs, they make you itch like you've never itched before. Highly contagious.
Then we have pediculosis capitis,
Yes.
head lice.
You
So-
have a predicament under your cap.
and you need to refer this person to a physician.
Yes.
When you have your client consultation, your client sits in your chair. Ms. Felikas, come
Okay.
here, please.
If you're going through their hair, if you see
You're talking to them.
this bug, which generally you will not see the bug. The bugs like to hide. Like when you're parting the hair and looking, they kind of run the other way so you can't see them. If you are actually seeing bugs, this person is highly infested. That means they've had it for quite a while. Most of the time as hairstylists, we see the eggs. These are also called nits. And they are stuck. They're glued to the hair strand. Sometimes people confuse them for a dandruff flake. They're about the same size as a dandruff flake.
But the difference is,
If you run
it's not moving.
if you run your fingers and that thing is stuck on the hair and it is not moving, it's kind of glued in place, that is a nit. Here in North Carolina, if we see this or this, we cannot do the service. So you always want to check for this during your consultation as you're doing your hair and scalp analysis. That's one of the things you're looking for, is any signs of pediculosis capitis or head lice.
Okay, now we have some bacterial infections.
Y'all remember bacteria?
Now we have the
Cocci. Furuncle.
furuncle. This is the term for a boil. So, it is a localized bacterial infection of the hair follicle, and it is painful. Now,
Carbuncle.
you have the carbuncle. This is the inflammation of the subcutaneous tissue caused by the staphylococcus. It is similar to a furuncle, it's just bigger. So, it's the furuncle's uncle.
Folliculitis.
This is the
Follicle.
hair follicles, frequently caused by staphylococcus. It is an infection or other bacteria. They are seen as small little white-headed pimples around one or more of the hair follicles. So you would see several of them. And this is something that needs to be treated, I would say, by a medical doctor.
All of these are contagious, meaning they can be passed from one person to another. They're a bacterial infection. So if somebody comes in and you see anything on the scalp that has signs of infection, redness, swelling, pain, pus, fevered, if it feels hot, you cannot do the service. But I also want to mention, you can be the cause of these things too. If you do not properly disinfect your implements in your work area and keep your hands clean, you can pass this from one person to the next.
Okay, the mild, no, you're good. The mild form of this, it can heal by itself, but if it's deep and heavy, you need to go ahead and send that person on to
To the
seek
doctor.
medical
And you
attention.
cannot do their hair.
No. Okay, so also perform a thorough hair and scalp analysis. What you're looking for. Okay, so they're in my chair and we're just talking. While I'm talking to them, I'm looking and asking what they like. I'm also inspecting for anything other than the hair coarseness, the hair texture, and all that type of stuff. I'm looking to see if maybe there's an issue that I cannot do. So, your hair texture. This is the thickness or diameter of each individual hair strand. So I could have a very coarse strand of hair, but not a lot of it. So you can have fine hair, but a ton of it. So
A lot of people get texture confused with curl pattern. Curl pattern is not texture, or curl pattern and texture are not the same thing. Texture is more, do I have a big fat hair? Do I have a medium hair? Or do I have a little tiny skinny hair? Okay? That's hair texture.
that's your texture.
It also has kind of a feel to it. I often will tell people think of wool, cotton, silk. So the feel of it and how fat those hairs are.
Yep. Now your density. Do I have a low density? So your measures the number of the individual hair strand in 1 square inch of the scalp. Average hair density is about 2,200 hairs per square inch of the hair. Your hair with high density is your thicker, dense hair, has 1 or more hairs per square inch. Your average hair contains 100,000 individual hair strands. Blondes usually have the highest density. People with red hair tend to have the lowest density. So,
Okay, so
let me see.
I don't know if you can see this.
Hold on.
Square inch of the scalp. Maybe square inch of the scalp. All those little dots represent hairs. There's a lot of dots in this inch. High density. Here, square inch, very few hairs inside that inch. That would be a low density. If you've got really fat hairs, you're not going to be able to fit as many in there. But so it's all about how close your hairs are together and how many you have per square inch on your head.
Okay, is that the right one?
That was good.
Okay, now we have porosity. We kind of talked about that last week. This is that hair's ability to absorb moisture. So you think you have a full sponge, okay, that you're washing your dishes with. No more water fits in it. It's the same way as your hair. So the degree of porosity is directly related to the condition of the cuticle layer. So if
Resistant hair. That cuticle is laid flat. It is just as smooth as it can be, and it's going to reflect more light. It's going to be harder for rain to get in between them shingles. It's just going to roll right off.
Okay, hair, healthy hair with a compact cuticle is naturally resistant to being penetrated by moisture and is referred to as hydrophobic. Porous hair has a raised cuticle.
This one is wide open. She's been mean to her hair.
Water just throws in it. It absorbs moisture. It's called hydrophilic. So, hair with low porosity is considered resistant. Chemical services, when you're going to do chemicals, color, relaxers, perms on somebody, you've got to check their porosity.
This is going to take a lot longer to process than this or that. And you may see the cuticle in all 3 of these conditions down the same hair strand. My root and mid strand may look like this, and I get toward the ends and it looks like this. So you have to check the porosity down the whole strand.
I probably have all 3 of these in mine.
I know I'm not so sure I have this, but I definitely have this.
I only have this baby right there. Fresh hair. Okay. Now, elasticity.
We went over how to do the elasticity test and made it an assignment for you guys. But basically, remember, you're just taking the hair and stretching it and making sure that it returns back to its natural shape.
Growth patterns. Now, this one will get you every time when you're hair cutting. So, make sure you pay particular attention to how the hair is growing. Your hair stream, this is the same flowing in one direction. This is my hair stream. It grows out right here and just keeps growing down. My whirl, this occurs when the hair leaves the follicle at an angle.
You see this on little boys a lot.
Yes. The hair will lie in a particular direction, forming patterns or streams on the head. This is often seen spiraled out from a central point. It can run clockwise directional. Sometimes one whirl can be seen in one individual. You can also have two whirls on the same head. So, a cowlick. This is due to a particular pattern of the hair stream on the forehead. So,
a lot of little boys have this. Little girls too, but you see it in the little boys because
Yes.
their hair's shorter.
and you also have to be very careful with somebody who maybe doesn't have any bangs. All of a sudden they want bangs, so you go and cut their bangs without realizing they have a really strong cowlick.
Now they look like they're in the movie Something About Mary.
So, also be mindful your hair patterns around the nape of the neck. So,
If somebody wears their hair really short, how their hair grows, whether it grows in or out or down, or if it goes up and then down, all that's going to have an effect on it.
and on a hairline, you can have one side that grows this way and one side that goes this way. So, it's all about how you cut it.
Okay, dry hair and scalp. I'm very familiar with this because I have dry hair and scalp. A lot of times your hair appears dull, dry, lifeless. Avoid frequent shampooing, strong soaps, detergents, or products with a high alcohol content. Now, frequent shampooing. We're not in the shampooing chapter yet, but you do not have to shampoo your hair every day.
Nope.
You shampoo your hair when it's dirty. If you've been swimming in the ocean, if you've been to the gym and you were sweating a lot, if it's been several days and your hair starts feeling oily, that's when you shampoo. You do not need to shampoo every day. Typically, people will shampoo like every other day, every 3 days. That is much healthier for your hair. I sometimes go 4 and 5 days in between because my hair is so dry. I also make sure that I use good products on my hair that aren't going to dry it out. So I use products that are for chemically treated dry hair. I put oil in my hair because my sebaceous glands aren't as active as they need to be. So also scalp massage also helps stimulate the production of oil. So it's good for that too. How did I go that far back? Okay.
Okay, oily hair and scalp. This is what I have. I have oily hair. Okay, I can get greasy buildup on my scalp. It's not overly oily, but I probably need to use a dry shampoo on day 2, whereas she may not need to use a dry shampoo, period. So, I have to use a dry shampoo, and I feel like I eat a well-balanced diet.
Yeah. Everything you put into
In
your
your
body
body
has an
comes
effect on your skin and your hair.
So, I mean, I use a shampoo that is for my hair type. So I wouldn't use a clarifier if I have oily hair, because all that's going to do, it's the same thing as putting alcohol on your face. It's going to tell your face, hey, I got to produce more oils because it's getting so dried out. So I use a shampoo that is conducive to what my ends of my hair need,
Yeah, you don't, just because something is oily, you don't want to use a lot of alcohol. You don't want to dry it out because your body's response is, oh, my oil's gone. Let me make a whole lot more faster. And you get oilier and oilier.
Yes.
But practice good personal hygiene. I know that's kind of a given with everybody, but if you have oily hair and you went as long as I do without shampooing your hair, people would look at you and probably smell you and be like, "Ooh, she doesn't bathe regularly." So everybody's personal hygiene routines are going to be different based on their needs.
Yes.
So someone who has a desk job and works indoors doesn't need to shampoo their hair as often as someone who works outside doing road construction. They may need to shampoo every day because they're dirty. So just maintaining a good, healthy skin and hair is going to vary from
And
person
I
to
will say
person.
this: if you do tend to have oily hair and you are using dry shampoo, remember that as a stylist, people are looking at your head from all around. So you do need a mirror in your bathroom to make sure you put your dry shampoo in the back of your head as well. So don't just do the front.
Okay, so that's basically the whole chapter. We realized we went a little bit longer on part 1 than part 2, but we had a lot to talk about. So just remember, trichology is the study of the hair in the scalp and all its conditions and disorders and how it grows. And it's important for you to know about all this. Even those end bonds, those side bonds, you think, well, why does the chemistry inside the hair matter to me? Because we affect it. We put things on it that change it, and we need to know how we're changing it. I have been in this industry a long time, and I have seen people's hair melt. I didn't do it, but I saw it happen.
And it's scary.
It's scary. I've seen people's hair smoke from the chemicals that were put on it. I have seen perm rods fall off in the sink with the hair still wrapped around it. You have to know the structure of the hair and how everything works so you know how to not let these things happen.
And just because a certain perm or chemical is good on her hair doesn't mean it's going to work good on my hair. And same way it goes in the salon. So always remember that.
And the number one culprit for these things happening in the salon is people not reading and following the manufacturer's directions. They listen to tips and tricks and little tweaks and hacks that other hairstylists have taught them, and it may work on this person, but it may make this person's hair fall out. So read and follow the manufacturer's directions, and you're going to be a lot safer.
Yes.
All right. Proper disinfection procedures. You need to know how not to spread disease, and we did talk about some contagious diseases that you need to be able to recognize when they sit in your chair. So, be able to describe and name the parts of the hair root. Be able to describe and name those 3 layers of the hair. Be able to talk about keratinization and know what you're talking about.
What are those polypeptide chains?
Yeah, what is it? It sounds kind of cool, but what is it?
Also, you need to be able to describe the 3 ways the side bonds indicate whether they're strong, they're weak, and know why.
Yeah, what kind of side bond is it? How much strength does it give the hair? How do I break it?
Then, 2 types of melanin responsible for natural hair color. You need to be able to name those and describe them.
So you guys have fun studying, and we will see you later.